All right, today we're tackling a massive question, really. What actually makes an election democratic, free and fair? We're going to deconstruct the whole thing, the entire anatomy of it, and we'll use India's gigantic electoral process as our guide. So let's just dive right in. It all really boils down to a problem of scale. I mean, think about it. How on earth can 1.4 billion people agree on, well, anything, let alone who should govern them? It feels impossible, right? And that, right there, is the fundamental challenge for any modern government. So to solve this puzzle, societies basically came up with two models. First, you have direct democracy. This is where every single citizen votes on every single issue. Now, that's great for a small group, like a village, Gram Sabha here in India. But for an entire country? No way, it's just not practical. And that's exactly why large countries like India use an indirect or representative democracy. We choose people to represent us and make those big decisions for us. And the tool for this whole representative system? Well, the obvious answer seems to be elections. Simple enough, right? Just hold a vote and boom, the people have spoken. But is it really that simple? And here's where it gets interesting. Just because a country holds an election, does that automatically make it a democracy? The answer is a huge, resounding no. I mean, plenty of dictators hold elections just for show, right? So the real point, the thing that really matters, isn't just the act of voting. It's the quality, the integrity of the entire system behind that vote. This whole idea of voting, it's not some modern invention. It has a really long and fascinating history. We're talking all the way back to ancient Greece, where people literally voted to kick out their leaders. Then you have these complex systems in places like medieval Venice, and it all leads up to the modern fight for universal suffrage. The idea that every single adult should have a say. And check this out. Some of those early Greek elections were basically negative elections. It's wild. People would scratch the name of a politician they wanted to exile onto broken pieces of pottery. They were called ostraca. And if a politician got 6,000 of these downvotes, if you will, they were banished for 10 years. Can you imagine? So, okay, how do we get from voting on pottery shards to a modern, strong, democratic system? Well, it turns out that most democracies, when they're built, are actually designed by answering 5 very specific fundamental questions. You can think of it as the 5-question blueprint for any truly free and fair election. So here they are, the 5 pillars that hold up a democratic election. 1, who gets to vote? 2, who can actually run for office? 3, who's the referee, making sure everything is fair? 4, what are the actual rules of the game? And 5, how is the winner decided? So let's break each of these down, and we'll keep using India as our main example. All right, first up, who can vote? Now, the democratic answer here is pretty straightforward. Every single adult citizen should get a vote, period. This idea is called universal adult franchise. It just means there shouldn't be any barriers. It doesn't matter what your background is, how much money you have, your gender, your caste, none of that. The goal is to get as many people as possible to participate. Okay, next question. Who can put their name on the ballot? Who can contest? The principle here is to keep it as open as possible for everyone. Sure, there can be some reasonable disqualifications, like a minimum age, or maybe a serious criminal conviction, but they have to be limited. For example, in India, to contest for the Lok Sabha, the lower house of parliament, you just have to be 25 years old. That's pretty accessible. Now, this next one is absolutely crucial. Who is the referee? I mean, for any contest to be fair, the person in charge can't be playing for one of the teams, right? The body that runs the election has to be completely independent from the government in power. India's constitution tackled this head-on by creating the Election Commission of India, or the ECI. It's a totally autonomous body. Number 4, what are the rules of the game? A proper democratic system has to have a clear and transparent rulebook. This covers everything, from how the voting areas or constituencies are designed to making sure your vote is secret. In India, the system we use is called first past the post. You can just think of it like a race. In each constituency, the candidate who gets the most votes, even if it's not a majority, wins the seat. Simple as that. And finally, the 5th question. How do we actually decide who won? Look, the counting process has to be transparent and verifiable. If people don't trust the count, the whole system falls apart. India uses electronic voting machines. You probably heard of them as EVMs. But, and this is the crucial part, they're backed up by something called a VVPAT, a voter verifiable paper audit trail. This creates a paper slip for every vote, so you can always go back and double check, making sure the electronic count is accurate. So, there you have it, the 5-question blueprint.
But here's the thing. While the goal, a free and fair election, is the same everywhere, different democracies answer these questions in very different ways. There's more than one path to get to the same destination.
And this table gives you a real sense of how different those paths can be. You got a system like India's, first past the post, which is pretty straightforward and often leads to more stable governments with a clear winner. But then you have something like proportional representation, which they use in South Africa. The idea there is simple. If your party gets 30% of the vote nationwide, it should get about 30% of the seats in parliament. This lets lots of smaller parties get a voice. And then you have hybrids, like in Germany, that try to mix and match. See, each system is just a different way of translating votes into actual power.
Okay, so we've gone through all these rules, all these different systems, but why does any of this really matter? What's the big picture here?
Well, it's this, and it's the most important takeaway. A democratic election is not just a single event. It's not just about that one day you go to the polling booth. It's the whole complex, carefully designed system behind it. It's the rules, it's the referee, the rights. All the parts have to work together perfectly to make sure the result is something everyone can trust as being genuinely free and fair. Because at the end of the day, that right to vote, it's not just some privilege that's been granted to us. It is the absolute cornerstone of the whole system of governance. It truly is the foundation that everything else, all our laws, our policies, our government is built on.
So the next time you watch an election unfold, whether it's here or anywhere else in the world, remember this blueprint. You now have the 5 questions to ask. Who gets to vote? Who's allowed to contest? Who's the referee? What are the rules of the game? And how is the winner decided? Now that you know the blueprint, what do you see?